Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. I'm the Magi, and today we're going to do a little budget shop talk about the brand new set for Foundations. And boy, is there a lot to talk about, way more than we usually do in this style of video. But hey, what do you expect from a set that is meant to be the literal foundation for Magic the Gathering moving forward? But before we get into all that, I'm sure you know that the 5-year foundation set in Standard is going to change a lot of things, not just in Standard, but in particular for budget and free-to-play players. What you may not know is you can make a big impact around here by making a funding choice through our Patreon, whether you're just helping keep the lights on every month, or you're making contributions towards specific content or hardware upgrades. Just know all the Patreon funding goes back into the community. Now, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, right. Alright, so right off the bat, Foundations is a very different set than what we're used to. First off, because it's absolutely huge. I wasn't able to actually count up all the cards because I only have so many fingers and toes. But from the best sources I could find, this set is representing 730 cards being introduced, most of which are in Standard. And beyond that, the average set is about 275 cards on average. So this is 2.65 times the size of a normal set. And that's just the beginning. Secondly, Foundation is going to be a long-standing, long-lasting set here on Arena and in Paper Magic. It is going to be around for no less than 5 years and maybe forever, depending upon how well it shakes out. When we compare that 5-year minimum lifespan to the typical set lifespan, which is about 2.5 years on average for Standard, we get a factor of 2.06 on this just from lifespan alone. And pretty much any way you cut it, this is leading to a massive impact from Foundations. The equivalent of roughly 5.5 normal sets being released. And that's just huge. That's like an entire year's worth of Magic. So with that in mind, Foundations is not only the first set that even truly free-to-play players can pretty reasonably expect to 100% acquire, it also means that any resource like a wild card, a deck, whatever, is really giving us like 5 times the return because the set is so big and going to be around for so long, you can really expect to get your money's worth out of this set. One of the reasons Foundations is such a massive set is the large number of additional products that have been designed along with it. Most of these being pointed towards new players, things like the Foundations Jumpstart, Foundations Starter Collection, and Foundations Beginner Box. In fact, Foundation's emphasis on new players was so pronounced, it actually inspired me to do a video predicting upcoming changes to the Arena new player experience to be built around Foundations and replace the annual revolving starter decks with something that was more semi-permanent and wouldn't require as much attention and periodic updates from the Arena team. And these predictions were in fact proven true by the recent November 4th Arena State of the Formats article, in which the Arena team stated that over the next 6 months, the new player experience would be updated and built around the Magic the Gathering's Foundation set, and now pointing new players towards Standard as the default play mode. However, we do not yet know all the details of exactly what this will include or how it's going to be rolled out. And for this reason, I highly caution you when considering using wild cards for cards found in these products, specifically the Starter Collection and the Beginner Box. It's very likely that we are going to get some of these cards for free as part of a future new player experience starter collection, And as of now, we have no idea what that will include. Hey guys, as we get started with this budget perspective, let me get you to lean in real close. I got a secret for you. It turns out higher rarity cards are good. Okay, I admit that's not much of a secret. And that's exactly why I'm not going to spend our time talking about all the good rares and mythics. There are plenty of other content creators willing to do that. And since I know that a budget player following our plan is only about 70% likely to have any given rare and only about 50% likely to have any given mythic, with the actual playset statistics going even further down than that very rapidly, I'm just not going to spend our time that way. Instead, I'm going to turn our magnifying glass towards those commons and uncommons because, you know, those are cards you're going to have, and I want you to be able to get the most bang for your buck. Alright, so now that I've set the expectation that we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about rares, you guessed it, we're going to talk about those few rare exceptions that really add a lot of value to your collection, as presented here in the brand new Foundation set. And the first one that we need to talk about is our boy, the Solemn Simulacrum, or the Sad Robot, if you would. For 4 mana, this 2/2 Golem does so much. He's kind of the Swiss Army knife of Magic the Gathering. He can help fix your mana, he can ramp you, he blocks for you, and he even replaces himself by allowing you to draw a card when he dies. This is one of those cards that is a must, really, in your collection. And particularly when your collection is small, this is one of those cards that you can add to virtually every deck and make it just a little bit better. Another colorless wonder that we've got is the 2-mana Maze Mine Tome. This will allow you to scry to filter your draws. It will also allow you to straight up draw cards. And when it can no longer help you draw cards, it gains you some life to help you stabilize. This is a wonderful card to add to those colors like green and white that don't get good access to card draw. And it's a must add to just about any blue, white, or otherwise control deck. Just really strong value here. This is another one of those cards that I recommended the whole time it was in Standard, and since it rotated out, I have highly recommended it for Brawl players and Eternal players alike. Really, if you don't have one of these in your collection, you should probably ask yourself why not. Now, I will be the first to admit I do not typically recommend rushing out and crafting dual color rare lands. The fact is, you will typically get enough rare lands at random to support your deck needs, particularly as a budget player. And let's face it, when it comes to 2-color rare lands, the meta can be very fickle, and your deck that is the darling this week might be completely unplayable next week, making you wish you had those rare wild cards back. Now, that having been said, you might need to think a little differently about the temple cycles here in Foundations, because not only are these going to be around much longer, 5+ years, there's also very good chance that Foundations gets extended beyond that 5 years, or might get replaced with something like Foundations 2, in which case the temples are still very likely choices to continue forward. And if they ever do rotate out of Standard, they are still very strong Tier 2 lands in just about every Eternal format. So if you are itching to craft some 2-color rare dual lands, the temples are the ideal places to start. And before you consider crafting any card, make sure you understand the 4, yes, that's right, 4 separate set symbols that are involved with Foundations. One designates for Standard, 2 of them designate for legal and Eternal formats on Arena, And the fourth set symbol designates very small, I believe it's only 3 cards, that are limited to Brawl only because they reference directly Commander cards. Okay, so this is usually the point in the video where I talk about the handful of specific lower rarity reprints, but the reality is Foundations has hundreds of reprints on and off Arena. I can't possibly cover them all because, well, I would die. But my advice is, since there are so many reprints, make sure you do your research and know what you have before you make those draft or craft picks, and only use your resources to acquire new cards because those 5th copies aren't going to do a single thing for you. And as a special note, no matter what you may have seen in various places, including at times from Wizards of the Coast, Sol Ring is not coming to Arena. I believe this is mostly an act of cowardice. And now let's talk about those cards at Uncommon and Common that are really going to do a lot of work for us as budget players. And let's face it, as budget players, we build a lot of monocolored decks, making the Uncommon Heraldic Banner pretty much perfect. For 3 mana, you choose a color, creatures of the chosen color get +1/+0, and you can tap it to add a mana of the chosen color. Usually a 3 mana rock is not super great for constructed, but when it comes to a lot of monocolor decks, this is going to give you that little bit of extra punch that you need to close out the game. And what do you know, the Gates deck is back in Standard. We'll be talking about this very, very shortly with one of our first constructed decks. But hey, this could be in Standard forever, so this is a great deck that you might want to start thinking about building, both for its now Standard run and getting those cards for the Eternal formats as well. And while you're thinking about lands in Standard, don't miss the fact that Secluded Courtyard is backed. That's right, all your multicolor tribal decks just got that much better and that much more stable for the mere cost of an uncommon if you don't already have these in your collection. And of course, Eternal got some noteworthy lands, many in fact, but the ones that I think are going to matter most to us as budget players is the common Thriving cycle that basically gives you 2 color fixing for a common, very, very solid. And of course, the original artifact lands appear to be coming to Arena. Nothing bad could possibly happen. And of course, Foundations once again represents hundreds of additional cards, far more than we could ever talk about. Many, but not all of which, are really designed for 1 or 2 decks, and we'll be trying to look for those standout cards that can help you bridge multiple archetypes like cats and life gain, for instance, or angels and life gain. Now, when it comes to the budget for Foundations, I think the Standard pretty much holds true. We're going to make about 85,000 gold in a Standard season. We're going to do probably 7 jump-in events, 4 to 5 drafts. We're going to pick up a couple of discount packs, although now we're starting to see more like 1. And we probably want to purchase that 45 pack bundle and the Gym Daily Deal when it comes out. Now, if you are a person that is more eternally minded, you might want to shift some of this towards the coming out in, dare I say, only a month Pioneer Master set. Similarly, if you are more alchemy minded, shifting some of those 45 pack purchases towards that alchemy bundle with the 25% discount is a very solid move. And of course, many of you made the now 2020 in hindsight decision to save some of your funds from Bloomburrow and Dustmourn in order to be able to invest more heavily in Foundations. And at this point in time, I see absolutely no reason not to do that. All right, guys, there's my thoughts on Foundations. It looks like it's going to be a fun, stable, long-lasting set that is well worth our time and investment. These were the highlights. can't possibly cover 700 plus cards. I'm so sorry about that. But we will be doing a lot more deck building, both budget list and non, within this season. So be on the lookout for that as we try and help you build your favorite new deck for Standard and beyond. Get down in the comments, let me know what you're thinking about. What do you feel like I overlooked or put too much emphasis on? Or, hey, am I just dead wrong about something? Let me know in the comments down below, because we are stronger together. And before we go, while every member of this community is important to me, I just wanted to take a moment and give a shout out to those patrons providing financial support and keeping the Stronghold from being a complete financial black hole. And of course, let me leave you with some suggestions for your next step here on the channel.